Welcome back again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Frank Warren's on the warpath again. Who's the guy he's got in his crosshairs? This time it's Ben Shalom, because I watched an interview this morning when I got up with Shalom, and he was talking about there being some sort of, the word he used was investigation into the gloves that Fabio Wardley wore against Frazer Clarke. The gloves in question were, I think they were Fly was the manufacturer, and they were quote unquote customized. Exactly what that means, we don't quite know exactly, or I don't know anyway. A lot of fighters have custom made gloves, but they have to fall within the remit of the rules and regulations of the British Boxing Board of Control. And Ben Shalom was interviewed, and he said that he felt that there should be an investigation into the gloves that are being used. Now, the Wardley-Clarke fight is the example he's using, but I took it to mean that he wants the board to look at, to review the parameters of what they allow and what they don't allow. Because sometimes some of these gloves are, we've heard the phrase puncher's gloves, which are Reyes gloves were considered puncher's gloves. By the way, I'm not an expert on gloves. I haven't had a pair of boxing gloves on in several decades, so they've certainly changed since my day. But sometimes they have more padding on the knuckles, sometimes they have more, they vary. And sometimes they give the hand more protection. If you've got brittle hands, you might need a type of glove that gives the hand more protection. So different fighters have different preference of gloves, but what Shalom seemed to me to be saying was that the board need to look at what the rules and regulations are, because when you consider the damage that was done to Frazer Clarke's face, double fracture in the cheekbone, maybe they need to look at, from a health and safety issue, that the board need to be looking at the gloves that are allowed and what the rules are. And that seemed to me, that's the way I took the interview to mean, anyway. Well, later in the day, up pops Frank Warren on TalkSport, effing and blinding in his head, definitely, about Ben Shalom and Ben Shalom's comments, and saying that, this is libelous. Everything's libelous to Frank Warren if you don't agree with him. All right. There's always been a bullying element to Frank Warren. He is, in many respects, a bully. Okay. You'll assume me over that, Frank, because you can make an attempt, mate. But I got fuck all, mate. I can do you maybe the odd guitar or two I've got lying around in the bedroom, and I'll throw in a packet of pickled onion Monster Munch. But if you sue me, you ain't getting much more than that, because I haven't got much more. But there's always been that sort of put the heat on anyone who disagrees with me. Whether it's, and he has actually threatened YouTubers, and he's sued fighters, and he's sued this person. He's an extremely litigious person, and most of it is piss and wind. It's bluster, it's blather. Okay, it's the threat to silence people, to shut people up who disagree with him. There was nothing slanderous that Shalom said, and if I was Shalom, I'd be saying, "Come on, then, come and sue me. Go for it." Having an opinion is not having a contract, Frank. If someone breaks a contract, you're entitled to sue them, or at least take them to court, right? Having an opinion, right, is not necessarily libel, okay? So sit down and shut the fuck up, for Christ's sake, for once in your life. Just accept that other people have different opinions, all right? So, with that in mind, he's saying, no, I'm going to sue it. So it's libelous. It's terrible. Ben Shalom's cast aspersions. I mean, stop being so pious. Stop being so, trying to claim the moral high ground all the time, trying to be so puritanical. Okay. Look, I don't have any horse in this race. I've never met Ben Shalom. Don't know anything about him apart from what I see on interviews. But during that interview, he didn't say anything libelous. Right, he was talking about his fighter having his face smashed in. Right, no excuses. No excuses made. He wasn't making excuses. He wasn't trying to, cut Frazer some slack. Frazer himself has been interviewed and has said nothing. He's congratulated Wardley. He's a gentleman. I thought Wardley won the fight fair and square. And Shalom is not saying that the gloves contravene the rules and regulations of the Board of Control. What he's saying is that maybe the rules and regulations should be reviewed if someone can pick up an injury like that. Now, there have been in the past people that have mentioned, the customization of gloves. Do they go too far sometimes? This is all stuff that has to be considered for the safety of boxers. We all care about the safety of boxers, I assume, So it's really, this is just Frank Warren being Frank Warren and just trying to shut someone up because they've said something he doesn't like. And I think it probably runs deeper as well, because Warren has said some other things. There's been friction between Warren and Shalom, and certainly Shalom and Hearn. And I just think that this is just plain silliness. This is stupidity. I'm so sick of this sort of nonsense. Frank Warren, by the way, has said made plenty of criticisms about other people. And so what? Who cares? Let him do that. He should be entitled to do that. It's the old line: if we don't believe in freedom of speech for people we don't agree with, then we don't believe in freedom of speech. Because freedom of speech is explicitly for people you don't agree with. It's not for people you agree with. So, this is Warren just being Warren. But I thought I'd mention it because it kind of winds me up. And Shalom, you can say what you like about Shalom. He is what he is. I mean, you can say what you like about Warren, and he is what he is. I don't have a horse in the race. But this constant litigation gig, this fetish for writs that Warren seems to have, is getting a bit beyond a joke. It's a bit stupid, really, a bit childish, and a man in his 70s should know better. So that's my spiel. And maybe Shalom's right about the rules for gloves having to be reviewed on. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. And by the way, there have been some occasions when I've agreed with Frank Warren. Over broken contracts and so on. You take each case on its own merits. But suing Shalom over that, don't be ridiculous. Come on. Anyway, comments below. What do you think? Leave comments below. And thank you very much for listening. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. It helps us a great deal. And hit the like button and build the channel up. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And bye for now.